Hello.
Hello.
Hello. So I'm Jason Dean and I'm a psychological therapist, and I am here with Carol Graham, and you are a psychosexual and relationships therapist.
That's right.
One thing that I often hear is struggles with anticipation before sex.
Okay.
So leading up to sex, whether it's just before or hours before,
Yeah.
if there's a prospect of sex coming up later that day,
Yes.
we want some excitement and some anticipation and a build-up of sexual tension.
Yeah.
That's all good, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's all part of the experience. But guys often say that they feel a mix of feelings coming up to sex. So excitement, looking forward, anticipation, but combined with worries, performance anxiety. Is this something that crops up regularly in the work that you do with guys?
Yes, a lot. I work with people who visit me with issues. They've got problems, worries around sex isn't working for them properly. I don't often hear people saying they're like positive excited. The anticipatory anxiety is normally quite negative.
Right.
And
Yeah.
just spoils the whole process for them, to the point where quite often people are avoiding sex and hoping it's not going to happen. But yes, certainly performance anxiety, where there are issues. If somebody is worried about their performance, are they going to be able to get an erection? Are they going to be able to maintain the erection? Are they going to be able to last long enough? Are they going to be able to, please their partner? Lots of different things. What happens then is that person gets very much in their head and they're spectatoring.
Yes.
And once they're in their head, they're out of their body. They're not noticing the pleasurable sensations. They're just, it's just worry. And, the sort of nervous system's fired up then for sort of flight or fight, the stress, which can cut off arousal. So any work that's done prior to sex about, getting in the mood quite quickly, So this is where guys might find their erection fails, or they're just so anxious that they maybe come too soon, So yeah, that's a big part of the work.
So it's kind of getting a balance.
Yeah.
Because I think I often hear guys say, on one end of the spectrum, I don't feel anxious, I'm excited and I feel positive, but I'm overexcited and over positive. I've built this up in my mind too much and probably put myself under a bit too much pressure.
Yeah.
Or the opposite, or somewhere along that spectrum is more of a, I'm full of dread actually.
Yeah.
I want to have sex.
They're the clients I work with.
So that more on that end of things.
Definitely.
Yeah. So I suppose in terms of finding that balance, I mean, we talk about things like maybe having a bit of a bit of a routine, a little bit of a ritual before sex to calm oneself down a bit. Maybe with a bit of breathing, a bit of, but not making it too much of a ritual. Otherwise, it adds to the expectation.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've sort of worked with somebody recently who almost fixated on breathing and relaxing to the point where that put them very much in their head, and they got anxious about, am I breathing right? Am I relaxing enough? It's very difficult.
It is difficult because that's a big thing. I agree. A lot of the self-help advice for men and some of the things that I talk about with guys is breathing to calm the parasympathetic nervous system, breathing, relaxing lower body.
Yeah.
But that's a lot to do in the moment.
Yes.
And or like you said, get all geared up and practice it.
Yes.
And it just adds to the pressure and expectation.
I mean, obviously in an ideal world with sex, it's all about pleasure. You want to just let yourself go, give yourself over, lose yourself in the moment. And that's impossible when you're thinking of everything that you need to be and everything you need to do.
All the things I need to get right at the same time.
Yes.
The other bit of common wisdom amongst men, and I think there's something to be said for it, is if you're on the overexcited, pent up end of the spectrum, get yourself off before sex.
Yeah.
Get the timing right.
Yeah.
Not immediately before, but at some point, if you can get that, if you can get the timing right, a few hours to reset the clock a little bit, relieve some of that tension, but give yourself enough time to recover.
Why not? If that's going to help the guy sort of relax and think, well, okay, I've done that, so there's less chance now, because a lot of it is anxiety, it's worry. So if anything that can alleviate the worry, it's important to ascertain, is it premature ejaculation?
Yeah.
Is it? I worked with somebody recently that thought that you have to last, an hour or whatever, because, their education came from porn, and in the porn industry, it's depicted that somebody can go on and on and on for hours. And actually that's not the case, is it? They're cutting the film. Who's it premature for? Who is it too early for? Is it for the guy, or is it for their partner? And quite often I think it's important to sort of really unpick, is this, how long is it? How long does it last? How long do you think it should last? How long would you like to last? I work with a lot of couples and a lot of women who say it actually isn't a problem for me. The length of time my partner lasts, it isn't. And
guys find that difficult to believe. Difficult to understand, because that's not the narrative that they...
No, they're following a cultural script. That, there's this idea that, there's some foreplay, there's some kissing and cuddling, but the actual main event, the main event is the intercourse, and it's the most important bit, and you have to stay hard and you have to last a long time. And actually, I find with couples I work with, the communication isn't there. That it's just a best guess.
Yes.
That's what, what their partner wants.
Yeah.
And
or mutual mind.
Yeah. So, and also there's also an idea for a lot of couples that, he is responsible for his partner's orgasm. He's responsible for his partner's pleasure. I say all day long, communication is where it all goes wrong. It's just a lack of knowing what the other one wants and needs. So I think, guys can sometimes have a bit of a raw deal, because they think it's all on them to perform. It's all on them to make it right. It's not.
When guys have or think they have identified a problem, so they think, a guy thinks, okay, maybe I've always come a bit too soon. It is a thing. Come a bit too soon. Sometimes their partner has said, look, we need to work on this. So when a guy identifies a problem, he's a problem solver. We fix our own things. So we'll go off and we'll research and we'll get all informed, and we'll learn about the breathing techniques and relaxation and the things that we talked about. But there is the relationship factor, isn't there?
It's only half of the jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah.
I find that the majority of the work I do it ends up being the couple. Because an individual will come and see me and say, I've got this issue. And it doesn't matter how much we can unpick it to bits. What's the other person? What part do they play in this? How are they responding to this issue? Is their response or how they've reacted in the past maintaining the issue?
Yes. Yeah.
And I truly believe that if one person in a couple has an issue with sex, it's the problem of the relationship, not that one person. It takes two. And actually understanding how they both feel and think about it, and what they're both doing towards either maintaining the problem or fixing it, is important to know.
Guys can exaggerate the problem and take it too much upon themselves. And wouldn't you say, from what you see, also the guy's partner sometimes can sort of say, well, I'm sorry, mate, but you're the one with the problem.
Exactly.
So And then he's under even more pressure
Yes.
because he feels like the relationship is dependent on, I must sort this out.
Yeah, you've got the problem, you sort out. So many times, people come to see me and I say, really, we need to get your partner here. Oh, yeah, but it's my problem. And they won't come because they've just sent me off here to sort of sort it out.
Yeah.
It nearly always is a relationship problem. The dynamic of the couple, how they work together or don't work together, and it's not just about the sex too, it's how they are the rest of the time.
Yeah, sure.
Sure. Is there a dominant partner? Is there an expectation that can't be met? The standards that, just in general life, in every other area of their relationship, which makes sex an even sort of scarier thing, possibly.
If there are factors in the relationship outside the bedroom.
Yes, that's right.
It's a very big ask for us to be able to do all the things we've worked on and come together in the bedroom. For a guy who feels that he has a problem, but he'd also like to get his partner a little bit more on board.
Yes.
And maybe that couple isn't used to discussing these things.
Yes.
How do you advise people to actually make some small steps?
Yeah, it is tricky because if a couple don't tend to talk about sex or don't talk about their issues, or if they do, it always turns into World War III. It is tricky. I mean, obviously, I would advocate getting some therapy, and being able to talk in a safe space that's facilitated if it's an issue, but. Yeah, I think just to be able to say, look, I'm really struggling with this thing and I'd like us to be able to talk about it. And I think it's important that we work on this together and, and download an online course or get a book from the library or go and see somebody that can help, but just to be vulnerability is great for human connection and to be able to say, look, I need your help with this, or can we sort this out together?
And I agree, and I think even to the point where, would you agree that if a guy finds himself in that situation, if part of the problem is the relationship, that whether the dynamic or the expectations or the communication, if there's some factor in the relationship that's contributing to the problem,
yes.
If he comes up against a brick wall and no matter how hard he tries, all he gets is, no, sorry, you haven't sorted this out yet.
Yeah.
I'm not... He can only do so much.
I know. And you've got to wonder about the health of the relationship and the chance of it surviving.
Because he's never going to overcome that by himself.
No. And I think for all partners out there with people who have a partner who has an issue, it's your issue too.
Yeah.
It really is. Yeah. It's for you both to sort out with kindness.
That's very much in the relationship dynamic. I also speak with guys who are currently single or between relationships. And again, based on their previous experiences, they've identified that they want to work on their skills a little bit.
Yeah. So,
okay, they've got the opportunity to become informed and to practice things, relaxation, all of the things. When you meet a new partner and you're first starting to get sexual, you don't lay out all your previous sexual history and problems and, oh, by the way, I struggle with premature ejaculation. Yeah. Or do you?
I personally advocate always communicating stuff. And, it depends on the partner. It depends on, if we're talking about the partner being a woman, then, women, I'm generalizing here, but women generally seek emotional intimacy.
Yeah.
They like the whole communication thing. And I think being able to sort of say, I've had some issues in the past or whatever. I mean, I don't know, I'm not a guy. Do guys want to do that? But I think so many people get really hung up on, as I say, penis and vagina sex is the main event. It's not for women.
That's that script again, isn't it? That's the script again.
Yeah. So it's everything that comes before is more important. So, I think just spending time, with getting to know each other, intimacy, foreplay, there's a whole lot of pleasure can be had until, you get to know each other a bit better, and to the point where you can sit and have that conversation maybe and sort of say, yeah, I've had some issues in the past I need to try and work through.
And she, I know we're generalizing here, but in that sort of scenario, she may well hear that as a compliment, because that shows he's invested and he's thinking about positive experiences.
All day long.
Yeah.
It shows emotional maturity all day long. That's going to be attractive, I think.
There's a top tip
from a woman's point of view.
No, that's really valuable insight. And I don't think we can do enough to try and counter some of those messages that guys do pick up from porn and cultural messages about the guys feel that whether it's in a relationship or whether it's casual, guys assume that they have to be the power behind the sex. They deliver,
they lead it.
And if they don't, if anything doesn't go to plan, they failed. Yeah, it's almost a test.
Yeah, and it's devastating.
One thing that I also crops up quite regularly is erection problems. So whether ED or just sort of unreliable erections, lack of confidence in that department.
Yes, I mean, obviously with aging, as men get older, they find that erections aren't as prominent. They're not there all the time.
Yeah, sure.
Maybe like, when they were younger, and, different health issues as you age can impact as well. But I actually would say there's probably an awful lot of young people. I'm seeing more and more young people coming into the therapy room. Years ago, it tended to be sort of more middle-aged, sort of people in their sort of 40s, 50s, 60s that I would see. But there's more and more and more younger people coming in, particularly with erection issues, performance anxiety. For women, vaginismus, sort of pain, pain disorders. And I think, I don't think it's any coincidence that these are the youngsters that have been brought up in the digital age and they've had porn as their sex education, which just isn't realistic. And I think what is happening is, they see, this sort of, well-endowed guy, and the perfect, the perfect girl, and they're, they're having, amazing, earth-shattering orgasms from the minute penetration starts, and actually it continues for a long time, and they can last forever.
And fully aroused.
All the time. And so this pressure on, is that what I've got to do? Is that what I've got to look like? Is that, and so the performance anxiety in young people, which obviously is going to affect erections. Sure. Because as we've said earlier, the spectatoring, getting in your head, worrying, any sort of stress, that sort of fear, cuts off arousal.
Yeah.
So even if, you'll speak to guys, and they'll come and they'll sort of say, well, I can't get an erection, or I get one and then I lose it. But you speak to them about their masturbation habits, there's no problem with erection at all. And so it's not biological, it's not organic, it's not a physical problem. It's all going on up here. And I do think, there is a lot of pressure. And I'm not anti-porn. I'm not anti-porn at all. But I think it's the idea of it being for stimulation, for titillation or whatever, for fantasy, but it's just not real. It's not real. And I think, unfortunately, it's the cause of a lot of sexual dysfunction in young people. I'm seeing more and more of it.
I agree. And I'm hearing from younger guys who are using Viagra.
Yes.
And they're even aware that they're using Viagra, but it's not because they have erectile dysfunction.
It's for confidence.
It's for confidence. Yeah. But it's a hack. It kind of works.
GPs prescribe it for confidence.
Yeah.
You know, if people are going to see their GP, they've got performance anxiety. Quite often, GPs, there's more of the PDE5 inhibitors, which are the sort of range of drugs like Viagra. There's more of those being prescribed for confidence than erectile.
Really?
Yeah. And it's ideal because at least it takes away that worry. Am I going to last? So
it has its place.
Yeah.
As long as you don't become reliant on that. And
I think people think, I don't want to become, I've heard a lot of people say, I don't want to start taking them because I don't want to be reliant on them. But I think once you've got your confidence and you're more regularly having sort of successful sex, and you get out of the habit of that worry.
Yeah.
The ruminating that you've been doing for God knows how many years, I think if you get out the habit of it and you get used to relaxing, it's...
So that lifts.
Yeah.
That lifts as a byproduct of having that bit of support boost from Viagra.
Yes.
Interesting. The other thing I often hear from all age ranges, not just an older guy's thing, but one way or another, erection difficulties and ED and premature early ejaculation, ED and PE come along together.
Yeah.
Which feels like a double whammy of difficulty.
Yeah. I mean, again, this with performance anxiety, with spectatoring, if you're worrying, you're going to come too soon because you're in your head, because you're worrying, because you're anxious, because you're fearful, you lose the erection.
Yeah.
So it's a vicious cycle.
And then when you have an erection, you've lost your confidence that it's going to last.
Yeah.
So maybe you move in a way that to make the most of that erection while you've got it.
Yeah.
So you go overboard and you get too stimulated and you come too soon.
Yeah.
Trying to maintain that erection.
This is a complaint I often have from women in a couple, is that because he's anxious, great, I've got an erection. So, they immediately start penetration, but there's not enough foreplay. There's not enough intimacy. There's not enough emotional connection that happens first. So whilst, yes, they've managed to have penetrative sex whilst they've got their erection, hasn't actually been so good for their partner.
Yeah.
And actually, their partner may have preferred just to have a lot longer foreplay. Only something like 20% of women have an orgasm with just penetration alone. So if there isn't enough foreplay, there isn't enough stimulation, and he sort of thought, great, I've got an erection, let's get on with it. Yeah, he may be having good sex, but it's highly unlikely that she is. And
if he's been in that mode of quick, before it melts, let's do this.
Yeah.
Again, that's the overriding message in his mind.
Yeah, is he
the connection?
Is he enjoying it?
And is she enjoying it?
Yeah. And again, it's back to this cultural script that the main event is penis in vagina sex.
Yeah.
And there's so much more.
One other thing that I think is quite interesting. TikTok sex trends.
Yeah.
Before rushing to intercourse and going straight for each other's most obvious erogenous sites, do 4 minutes, set the clock, have a timer on your phone and do 4 minutes of foreplay that feels right, is consensual, maybe something new, maybe not.
Yeah.
The fact that that is a out there crazy viral sex tip in this day and age, that 4 minutes of foreplay is a good thing to do, what does that tell us about?
I mean, it define foreplay. If they're saying, you know, some kissing and cuddling and caressing or whatever, 4 minutes of that before anything sexual, yeah, that might be a thing. That might be good. 4 minutes of foreplay is not enough.
It's not much, is it?
If we're talking about foreplay as in, you know, manual stimulation, oral stimulation of the genitals, 4 minutes isn't enough. It might be for him, it won't be for her. It takes a lot longer for the clitoris to be fully aroused and ready, and for the body, a woman's body, to be prepared for penetration, if that's where it's going. So yeah, 4 minutes. I mean, there may be some people out there that would just be glad of 4 minutes.
I think so.
You know,
and in that respect, it's good advice. And I'm assuming any message through TikTok or any message that advocates foreplay, and even afterplay, any message, we're behind that, aren't we?
Yeah.
But I think it has to that form. It struck me that maybe in your typical porn clip, that might be like 10 minutes long, there'll be maybe some foreplay, but it will be her going down on him for a minute or two, probably not for 4 minutes, and that will be the extent of it. So I guess 4 minutes of foreplay that's with more variety addresses that.
I think if there's currently no foreplay at all, then 4 minutes is better than nothing. I think, you know, it's one of the questions I do ask people is, are you satisfied with how long you spend kissing, caressing, touching before penetration happens? And more often than not, the answer is no. It'd be good if there was more. And, you know, it's amazing how few couples, more that are in a sort of a long-term committed relationship, don't actually have a good old snog anymore. They don't kiss passionately anymore. And, you know, it is just this routine of a bit of a touch, a bit of a feel, and then straight on with sex. And then they're in my room wondering why, you know, orgasms aren't happening, or there's pain, or things aren't feeling as good as they used to.
That's very insightful. And I think also with some of the issues that we've touched on just now, it's been on the guy side of things. When a guy is struggling with premature ejaculation, particularly, again, foreplay is a very positive thing to do because it lets him acclimatize to sex, relax into it, his time. But foreplay, any kind of foreplay that involves his penis tends to go out the window because partners find that they get their hand pushed away. Oh, no, not too soon. I don't want to go. And after that happens a couple of times, the partner will stop doing it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So that foreplay is...
rejection is, you know...
Yeah. And he's actually... The couple are missing an opportunity there to gently stimulate and build into it. Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, I think with foreplay, you know, erections, especially if you know, if a guy is concentrating on his partner's pleasure, if a guy is giving his partner oral sex, manual stimulation or whatever, quite often he will lose his erection at that point because he's concentrating on something else. So erections wax and wane, and there's this immediate fear, oh my God, I've lost my erection. Well, actually, it's just gone to sleep for a minute, it will come back, you know, it will wax and wane, it will come and go. But then as soon as they get a bit soft. It's like, oh my God, oh no, and then in the head and anxiety, fear,
spirals,
and it spirals out of control. So I think, and it, it's quite often, women will sort of say, oh, when he loses his erection, I feel like he doesn't fancy me.
Yeah.
Which, so it's things like that. But actually, erections come and go. And and also say to couples, so you're fooling around, you're having a nice time, you're giving each other oral sex or whatever. So if you come, does it matter? Can you then concentrate on your partner's pleasure and then they have an orgasm, and then maybe you go again in half an hour. There's so much pressure on, it's got to be this, then this, then this, then this, and change it up, do it differently.
So much of this comes back to addressing the script.
Yeah,
again.
Exactly.
Those really unhelpful expectations.
Yes.
That so many of us are buying into.
Yeah, and quite often you believe it's the expectation of your partner, but you don't know because you've not talked about it.
Yeah, sure.
So you're not sort of said, look, how do you feel when this happens, or how can we, what can we do differently, or let's do it a different way tonight, or whatever.
Yeah. I'm conscious that in the advice that I give to guys, a lot of it is, you can do a lot with yourself here. You can relax. You can get your head game sorted out. You can, all of these useful techniques. And I think they're all valid, but I'm always conscious I'm leading guys up the garden path if I neglect the communication, the relationship, not buying into the script. And I think that's the therapeutic work.
Yes.
That you do a lot of.
I can't imagine. It must be very difficult for you working with, because I have the option of saying, right, bring your partner in, let's get this sorted. We can sort this out. And it's very hard to just work with one person. I struggle with that because you don't know, every bit of good you're doing with that person, every therapeutic intervention can be just undone the minute they walk through the door.
Yeah.
If they're not getting the support, the response. And even if their partner's sort of saying, well, that's good, let's try that, or whatever. If there's a power imbalance in that relationship, if there is there's some sort of control dynamic going on, if there's other stuff, if there's, if for whatever reason that guy already feels sort of less than in the relationship, and then on top of that there's this problem, which could be the reason the problem's there in the first place, to be honest, then it's you almost, it sort of feels like you're setting somebody up to fail, doesn't it, really? Because you're sort of giving them all this good stuff to do, which is really useful and will help, but can easily be undone.
He'll often feel, if I can just last a bit longer in bed, all the other problems will fall away.
Yeah.
Because I will.
Yes,
I'm going to
so much importance.
I'm going to fix this relationship with my penis.
Yeah.
And that again is not setting a realistic expectation.
There's so much else going on normally. There's lots of stuff going on, and quite often the partner is getting frustrated. I've worked with many couples where, she'll burst into tears if he comes too soon, especially maybe couples that maybe trying for a baby or something like that, and so that the response that, oh my God, I'm hurt now, she's having a terrible time because of me, so I can't advocate enough communication, talk about it, be vulnerable, say, look, I want to be able to sort this out, but I can't do it by myself. It needs to be two of us, and we need to work this through. And it's really, really difficult when you're just working with one half of the relationship. Always remember that any sexual issue anybody has is a problem of the relationship, and it's up to both of those people in the relationship to sort it out.
And that mind reading, that mind reading and interpretation and trying to second guess what a partner wants and feels.
Yeah.
Sometimes couples have been together for decades and that's still going on.
I know. Years and years. I work with couples and they've been married for 25, 30 years. And I will ask them questions in the therapy room and they will look at each other and say, well, I didn't know you felt like that. Or, I didn't know, and it's staggering, isn't it? But it's not unusual. It's majority of couples don't talk about sex. A couple I saw this week, he sort of said, well, I know, a lot of women fake their orgasms. And so, I mean, I don't know, is she faking it? She said, absolutely never have, never ever. And he went, oh, that's good to know. And I'm thinking, isn't it a shame after all those years of marriage, he's only just finding out that, she's not, she's not faking it.
And sometimes so much private on both sides of the relationship, so much private doubt and insecurity and worrying has gone on that maybe wasn't really necessary.
Yeah. And it's all that stuff that causes these problems, these issues, these disorders, these dysfunctions.
That is really insightful and really helpful. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
If anybody wants to see a bit more about your work, the therapy that you provide, where you are, what's the best way to...
So my clinic is the North Hampshire Clinic in Basingstoke at the top of the town. So I have a website, www.northampshireclinic.co.uk. I'm just putting together at the moment a sex education course for adults because we never got the sex education. None of us got the sex education that we should have got. Our sex education was always about, how to make a baby, how not to make a baby, periods, but nothing about pleasure, nothing about pleasure at all. So the course I'm producing is sex education for grown-ups, all based around pleasure and how arousal works, what desire is. It covers quite a lot of things. So that will be available probably next month.
So that could be July.
Yeah, July. Be able to sort of go online and sort of download that if that's. I think it's helpful for a lot of people just to have a basic sex education, sex education in pleasure, sex for pleasure, not sex for procreation. Doesn't talk about babies at all. My course. So, that might be a good first point.
That sounds very relevant to what we've been talking about.
Yes.
And also the fact that it's never too late in life or in a relationship to pick up some of these insights.
Absolutely not. And to rewrite your script.
It can always be done.
Yeah.
But as a team effort.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Absolutely fantastic. Thank you, Carol.
Thank you.